You see, what do you guys think of the words of God? Essentially, that is what we follow, and these rules are broken down, different structures, formats, so that others can, also use that as a floor plan in order to create new rules, essentially providing good for the masses, right? I want people to understand that those foundations is also a structure form of power as well. Knowledge, the use of it, the understanding of it, all of those things is powerful. And the more you start to grasp the depth, like study the ways of knowledge, you will understand a centerpiece of gravitational knowledge base. And they have 10 sectors, right? And these sectors broaden, like it spreads out, essentially. Yeah, my eyes, allergy season, right? So I want people to understand this concept that, you live in a time where information is rapidly changing hands, switching global, round. All information carries a source of power when it's used properly, but it can be used for a purpose of good or bad. All of these things do exist, the right and the left, the right side of the coin or the left side of the coin. All of those is showing which side of knowledge would you take, right? The understanding of how animals connect with the universe, because once upon a time we used to, yes, some people can communicate and talk to animals because they're specialists, right, with training and all these things. But I think that kind of gift is embedded in all of us. It just, we lost it because of the distance that we have had. Even it shows in our infrastructure, like how we grow and stuff. Like, look at all these things that's happening, right? It shows that we have sort of like created a civilization for us. Not sort of, we have, but then the distance of the animals is further off, right? Even though, yes, you go, we have establishments where you have these animals there and you can study them, and they show you all of these things, right? But regardless of that circumstances, right, all of these changes still take place. And so under all of these structures, right, you have to understand that it is a reality of information, right? A lot of knowledge that we don't know about ourselves is within the animals, because the animals, right, are also a counterpart to humans, in sense of, you know, being able to adapt and understand the human being, in many uses, many cases. You see humans using a lot of dogs, cats, cows, sheeps. All of these things are symbols, right, that came from the spiritual kingdom before it manifested to the physical kingdom, which is now we are seeing, right? But many people say it's a stimulation means it will change. Like it changes in sequences. Um, it's, obviously temporary, but it will regrow in that sense, right? Because of the living mechanism the earth is alive in the, you know what I mean? And so we are created for this, but we don't use much of what we need to use. And that changes because of the friction that, you know, a lot of different views have, different people have, different religions and stuff like that. All of these views are different. There is peace, right, that can be lived amongst all of them, which, you believe in what you believe in. And of course, I respect what you believe in, but I have my belief as well. And also, you must respect mine, which is equally respectful, right? And which is fair. But at the same time, it keeps us away from being more powerful, you know? Yes, it keeps us away from being more powerful because the truth lies with, I feel like, okay, there is more truth, like there's truth in each, but the realization is off. And the understanding is also off because one must keep what they have and what has been working and what has been dedicated to. It's like, okay, you've been taught all your life to keep certain things. You keep it for a degree of years. It has been working, right? Because, people go and do things because of peace. If you don't have peace, then obviously, then it won't be subject to work, right? So wherever peace is what the human always thrive to go for because it's a missing component in their life. Meaning that, if somebody's hungry, they're gonna want to eat food, right? But then it starts to vary what type of food, right? Same thing. If somebody's thirsty, they'll drink water, right? But then it varies to what type of drink would they drink, right? Over time, because somebody who does does not have many choices as somebody who has, right? So the views and the concept of understanding of knowledge and the use of it becomes different, meaning different volumes of society have different access. Those who have a higher volume in finance, in knowledge as well too, because some knowledge that you learn between human beings, you have to pay a lot of money to be around certain type of people, or you have to achieve a certain amount of money to be around certain sectors of people, right? And you won't get that because you see a lot of knowledge get passed on social media, on the internet and everything, but which one is authentic? That one varies because a lot of times you go into it, it may seem like it works, right? It grabs you for a couple of, money. Oh, you pay for this, you buy for this, and you thinking everything is good, but then it doesn't necessarily turn out to be good. So that takes you away from it too, right? And so what happens at these moments in time when, reality is quickly, aggressively changing? I feel like in 10 years, everything's gonna be digital, right? Because there's so much technology, so much advancement with technology and the range of it, right? Like all of these things are notion of what? Self-advancement or society advancement, meaning that people are going to, more appreciate things rather than people, but they should appreciate people because people made those things. So that was also the beginning concept. The more powerful you are, the more might you carry, but then at the same time, it's also can be problematic if it's not used properly. That knowledge, that information. So what is your source of power? That's the whole point. The source of a power for everything is batteries, right? Anything that we are using, a car, even though it runs on gas, it still needs a battery, right? Battery for energy, battery for components, battery for cameras, right? You need energy. If you don't have that power and the restoration of fundamental aggressive power, how will you be able to strive to the next level of the spiritual? Because you see, so much things are happening, so much effects are taking place. Weather alone has a great impact on changes, right? Because weather predicts everything, right? It can change a good environment into a bad one just based on the conditions, right? But it's chemistry in some ways, right? And that's also knowledge. And we humans have advanced to the point that we can actually make weather, right? And all of these things, God already said we can do more, and we can do, right? So at the end of the day, we can do these things because we have a life source in us that is able, right? We don't do it ourselves. It's almost like we do it through our will, but our will must be the same as the creator, as the same as God. Because in order for it to be the same, we have to experience a 10% series, right? A small source of it, but to us is a high magnitude. And so that high magnitude, we're only experiencing 10% of that full magnitude problem, but we, in most cases, don't even know, right? Because it's so impactful, it tears us from what we know originally, right? Because an experience can change your thought patterns on what you know or what you used to know, or it can add to it, or it can change the direction of what you are used to based on the experience and what changes it brought to that situation. And because of that, right, we have to understand how powerful the words we choose to use, or the words we basically surround ourselves with. Because words and numbers, we see them, and our brain can read them and transmit these numbers to what memory we had based on our training of learning, right? But maybe learning could be an automatic thing. You don't think so? Right? Maybe the learning component that we used to learn was a manual way, but there's an automatic switch in the brain that can reassess the knowledge basically automatically. It should have a processor, something to be able to do that. But maybe we haven't tapped into it, or maybe we have not studied it in that sense of it should be able to automatically do certain things, or we know it can, but we just don't know how to activate that yet. And suppose it gets activated, and we get so advanced as humans that all this technology, like we realize the technology is no longer useful because we can do those things that we created to make our lives easier, right? I sense that is able to do that because, I mean, if we're able to create all of these things, how can we not advance in that way to be able to do self knowledge? Like, a child is maybe 1 years old. You you are able to tap in, like, methods to help the child tap into that advanced knowledge, and then the child can do all of these things so quickly. Imagine how far we would be able to do that. We would be able to go because we learn on memory, right? Is there not an automatic memory button in our system? You know, because we are learning, and then you go back to it and you learn. But that way, right, it's a for sure way, but I just think that there is a higher way of just being able to absorb the knowledge, like sort of like, the matrix, but in the not in that concept of grasping something and being able to do something. Like, you can't do this, and then like 10 seconds later you're able to do something. In that sense, that concept, you know that knowledge, or that kind of advancement in the human mind, or in scientific world, or chemistry world, or regardless of which um, department or organization comes up with that concept or study, it will change the way we are as humans, because that would make us live longer, because we would be able to do that. We will be able to understand certain things that we wouldn't be able to. We would be able to understand the maturity of the magnitude of knowledge that we know, because a lot of times the maturity is what changes the reaction. Like somebody having some type of knowledge that can change the world, but then they don't use it for the change of the world, or they create some kind of mechanism, but then it's used to destroy instead of to gain, right? So these things also affect the reality of what can be brought, because that warning section also of what humans can use because of the power that they want to maintain, that one changes how things should be. So let me know what you guys think. I mean, we discussed the advancement of human and the importance of knowledge and the use of it, and the different sectors, right, of humans, and where they are in terms of finance, and how the type of knowledge that they should be able to have or use. Those things also change, and so because of this, people should really study and absorb, or absorb the different types of studies that people are doing to get to this level, because the manual way of learning helps to a degree, but I think there's a better way, but we just haven't tapped into that. So we are advanced, we are eternal, but our flesh is temporary. That part will change, but the energy source, that is the life that carries the world, carries everyone in it. And any source of life has this in them, either a small amount or a large amount. And so because of this, we know that that defies time. So really, we don't come, meaning time doesn't really affect us. It just affects the shell of us, right? Meaning, oh, your time will be up at this particular moment. Once it's up, then basically that's it, right? But what have you done in that sequence? Because you will have a source of encounterment. Because it's like this: you enter a realm, and then you're held accountable for the realm that you have done. Like, okay, this is the good, this is the bad, why did you go, those kinds of things. But it will be your actual self. And so think about it, because we have energy, and we always had it, even in the womb, how we got to the eggs and so forth, swimming there, that's life. So we always had that life, but then there's a time when that life must go, but it's still there, but separation of the flesh. Humans tend to hang on to the flesh, but the flesh knows nothing once the life is gone. Have a good day. Stay motivated, guys. And thank you for listening. Bye now.